So this is a really big question, and it is one that I get asked about quite often, and it's one that I wondered about too whenever I was getting into filming and editing.
In a world where nuclear war has begun, vampires fought back in super real 3D.
And as somebody that has directed, filmed, edited, 99% of the time comes up with a pre-production concept and everything, all hands on deck through all the projects that you've seen across Rough Cut Productions that you can find online on my website. I will tell you flat out that editing does have more of an impact than anything else. And now that doesn't mean that the other roles aren't vastly important. Absolutely, the way that you direct it, the way that you shoot it, the way that you light it, the way that you do your audio, I mean, everything does matter. There's no doubt about it. But as far as what dictates the most and how the final product comes out, it is in the editor's hands. And that is why I insist on editing all of my projects, because I'm invested so heavily in all the other aspects that I couldn't imagine not being the person editing it. So I've worked very, very hard to get better and better at editing, and I still continue to want to get better at all facets of film production. But when it comes to the editing, I take it extremely seriously, and I do think that it's one of the strong points. Rather than saying strong points, I should say I feel like most of the style that people end up hiring me for probably happens in the edit. So to further my point a bit here, let's say that you have terrible footage. There are lots of videos out there that actually have mediocre or even bad footage sometimes, but because the edit was so well done, the video is enormously successful, and I would even say that's a great video. You can't do that the other way around. You could have absolutely stunning footage, but if the edit sucks, the video sucks. There's no getting around it. Otherwise, it should just be a photograph. It's all about how you put it together, how it's sequenced to the music, the rhythm of it, the flow of it, the energy, the colors. Everything's gonna dictate the style and tone of how you match and marry everything up. If you're a freelancer, you're most likely delving into editing in addition to the filming because it is so accessible now. I still try to pull off these projects solo so I can charge the client less, so we can pour more money into the budget, so I can have more time getting to do editing and more time getting to do pre-production planning and stuff like that. For me, I just love the opportunity to have an artistic footprint in every part of the process of putting together a video. If you have bad footage, one of the best things that you can do is try to play into the aspect that's bad about it in the edit. So if it has a weakness, use it as the forefront piece of what it's trying to be stylistically. Make it feel intentional. These are options that you actually have as in editing room. I truly wonder how many movies are out there that I think are amazing, and I'm attributing all that to the director, and really it was the editor that might have made that shine. And I know that that's a reality. There's just no getting around. As somebody that edits their butt off, the control that you have as the editor is insane. There's times where I reinvent the wheel on a project that I filmed, directed, had a vision for, and then realized in the editing room, I just stumble across this flow of experience and trying to explore where it can go and realize this would be way better, or this is what this is really trying to be. I was wondering when it would click, and now it clicked. So I can't endorse trying to focus on your editing enough. That doesn't mean to not put effort into the other aspects of filming. Absolutely important. It's fun. It's a whole part of the process. But if you're only doing filming or only doing directing, when it goes to the editor, it really is out of your hands unless you're gonna sit in with them throughout the whole edit. And as far as I understand, I think a lot of my favorite directors do that. They sit in through the edit. But there's a lot of times where the directors do step away and they come in and check on things as it's going, and say, maybe not this and maybe not that. And it's just insane how little credit the editors get on movies from the general public. I know that the editors are completely valued by the crew and by the director, absolutely. But when it comes to the audience, I mean, name one editor. Right. And that's the thing, and I'm telling you, that editor was, there's a good chance he or she was just as much of a director as the director, because that is the dictator of where it really comes together. So editing is massive. And the last thing I'd like to point out about editing versus filming, or editing versus directing even, is that if you're not editing it, then you're really not getting the opportunity to learn nearly as much as you could about how you filmed it or directed it or lit it. I mean, it's in the editing room where I get to figure out, did I do it right? Because I will tell you, I will have stuff that I think looks golden in the camera and then get it back to the editing room and realize, man, this was totally underlit, or this was totally overlit, or I absolutely should have had that actor do this another time, or I thought this was a steady shot and it's too damn shaky. All that's figured out in the edit. You can watch it back on your monitor on your camera and you can be easily deceived as to what you're really getting. When you put it up on the real monitor and you're comparing takes and you go to start putting stuff together, you get to realize where all your continuity problems were, where the object was sitting in the screen that you didn't realize was there that you should have had out, where you realize that this lens was a bad choice for this person's face because it's not flattering for them. I should have gone to a fuller depth of field because I'm continually missing focus by trying to ride this aperture out. Probably should have gone with like maybe an f/5.6 instead of an f/1.4 because I'm missing focus too much. There's too much movement in this. I should have lit it more, brought the aperture back up so that way I've got more of a full depth of field. I mean, there are pro cinematographers out there that pull this off. They do not do their own edits. I get that, but if you're one of the freelancers out there and you're trying to pull all this together and you're handing it off to an amateur editor, I mean, you're not learning how to use your camera fully. I mean, this is where I figure out what my camera likes. It's one thing to look through the monitor on the camera, whatever LCD that it's come with, even if it says that it's an OLED, it's still, I mean, it's different when you get it onto the actual computer monitor. You start analyzing it. You start, if you're doing color grading as well, which I love doing color grading, I mean, this is where you get to see, well, is the codec actually as good as I think that it is? Is the dynamic range really there? Because to get maximum dynamic range out of your camera, you're gonna have to do some post-production on that color and figure out if you're really able to pull these things back and forth. Some cameras like being overexposed a little, some like being underexposed a little. It depends on the picture profile. All these things are figured out in the edit. So if you're not doing any editing, you are really missing the boat on learning how to film better, learn more about what your camera does and doesn't like, learn more about your directing. You get to hear yourself back directing people and realizing where there's maybe a huge gap in your communication ability on something that you thought you were being very clear about. You learn so much from editing that carries over into your filming, your lighting, your directing. So I would say editing is really the most important part as a singular thing. And that's it. That's my opinion on that. So take it or leave it, but that is what I think about it as somebody that directs, films, edits, color grades, does pre-production planning, usually concept creation. So anyway, guys, I hope you found that valuable. If you like this kind of information, if you want to know more about it, if you want to follow more of what I'm doing, I'm putting out episodes every week. You can subscribe. That would be awesome. If you don't want to subscribe, that's cool. Maybe throw a like on this video if you found it of value. That is much appreciated. And hopefully I will catch you on the next Rough Cut with Ash. Take care, guys.